I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at 3.5 years old. I have more young memories of hospital rooms and the inside of ambulances than I really have of being held by my parents. So many 911 calls over the years has ingrained into me an anti-panic mindset. Whenever something happens, I just take whatever life throws at me and I roll with the punches. No use wasting energy freaking out over something when getting emotional isn't really gonna help the situation at all. Yet, not long ago, I panicked. For perhaps the first time in my life. A short story that I hadn't even finished reading gave me what I can only imagine as my first existential crisis. And I came out of it with a renewed sense of why I want to make videos for this channel. The Library of Babel, written by George Luis Borges, was a short story about a library in which was every single book ever written. Inside of it was every single book yet to be written. Every single book written but lost. Every single text message sent. Every single love letter thrown out and rewritten. And every single raging troll comment ever made on the internet. When I came across the site after looking up the Library of Babel to try and find an online reading source after learning about the short story, I was browsing the shelves randomly. I found a room, picked a bookcase, a shelf, a book, flipped to a random page, and just saw what I could find. It was pretty amusing at first, flipping to a new page and just seeing random gibberish, and then having Google ask if it wanted to translate the page for me. Maltese and Polish were the only two languages it could try and figure this random nonsense into. I decided to look at the search engine, where you could put in any string of characters and it'll give you a book with that exact message, and messed around with it, typing in random sentences and laughing about how it would always come back with results no matter how absurd the sentence. Eventually, the idea came to me to try looking up messages that I had already sent to friends. I dug around through my Discord and found some random comments by a friend. Questions about Risk of Rain 2, comments on his taxes, or bragging about his wife. I put them into the search engine, and out popped 4 results. A blank page of spaces with only that exact phrase, a page of random gibberish with that exact phrase, a page of random but fully understandable words and that exact phrase, or that phrase as the title of the book itself. I added more and more messages to the search box, and with each one, I started to notice my face getting wet. I was crying. That type of situation where you don't really realize it is happening until the tears are already flowing down your face. I stepped back from my computer to realize what had happened, and then I started to hyperventilate. It wasn't major, I just needed a minute or so to calm down. But all throughout that minute, as I cried silently, I was just unable to do anything. Everything that my mind does, all the various ideas and thoughts that constantly float and jump around my brain, it just stopped. For a time, I wasn't able to think, just soaking in the experience that I just had. It was terrifying. The idea that every single word I had ever spoke, every single word spoken to me, everything that I wrote or read, none of it was original or unique. A random computer generation system had already created everything before I had ever written it. Even the script as I am writing it, it already exists in there somewhere, and I'm just copying it without even knowing. I mentioned before that the library in the story contained all books ever to be written, or are written, and I knew that logically. Yet, emotionally, I don't really think it hit me what that idea truly meant. People always say that nothing is truly original, and every idea has already been said. Everything now is just rehashing with a coat of paint. I don't disagree with the idea, but I never liked it either. Something about it just bothered me, and it wasn't really until that crushing realization that I realized why. It isn't the final result that has meaning. Naturally, the final outcome of any project is vital, especially one based on sharing an idea to the world. But for me, everything that I had said, every video script that I wrote, while being able to share it is hugely important, being able to understand my own thoughts is far more important. Each time I sit down to put pen to paper, or fingers to keyboard I guess, my goal is to sort through the chaotic mess flying around inside my head. Narrow down the exact ideas I'm thinking about, find evidence for and against those ideas, and then finalize my thoughts by writing the script. You can only ever understand something if you're able to explain it to others, my science teacher in 6th grade told me. It is part of the reason why I hate my Yomawari video. I completely and utterly failed in that goal, since at the time, I still couldn't really explain why I loved those games. While I understand it better now, at the time, I failed when I originally made that script because I didn't understand it myself. It isn't the video, but the process of making it that is important. It's an ideology that is hugely beneficial to living a good, happy life. It's the journey, not the destination, a cheesy and overused line, but it does hold truth in it. Look at the people in the world who are most enjoying their lives, who are the happiest. It's usually the people who have accepted that their goal, whatever it may be, is something that is obtained by chasing it, not by actually obtaining it. Athletes aiming to be better than they were yesterday. Scientists working to answer a question that, knowing full well, will only lead to 10 more questions. Or people who simply want to live as a good person. They aren't really goals that can ever be completed, because it's the act of doing that gives genuine happiness, not the act of having done. It seems counterintuitive. Should you just keep making goals and stopping right before you reach them? Not at all. Instead, set your goals for something unobtainable, but still able to be pursued, and which the pursuit of will better you and make you happy. As Abathur said in StarCraft 2, when asked why he never seeks to make the Zerg perfect, only better.
Spin it. Make it great.
But not perfect?
Never perfect. Perfection goal that changes, never stops moving, can chase, cannot catch.
A computer may have written my words already, dozens of times over with tiny spelling mistakes in each copy, but it is my copy, the one that I spend time and effort to write, that I give meaning to. But does all this mean that uploading this video is pointless? I just make the video and toss it in the trash because I already got my meaning from making it? Not in the slightest. The literary critic Wolfgang Isar wrote that in considering a literary work, one must also take into account not only the actual text, but also, and in equal measure, the actions involved in responding to that text. My videos might not be text in the traditional sense, but the spirit of the quote still does hold true. My video holds meaning to me, but in order for my video to have meaning to the greater world outside of myself, the reader, or in this case the viewer, you, must interact with the video to give it that additional meaning. My videos, for all the effort that I put into them, and all the rephrasing and rewriting to get my point across, only truly gain meaning to anyone other than myself based on how you interpret it. Some of you might think all my talking to be nonsensical, and you back out, leaving a dislike and an angry comment. Perhaps not unlike those groups in the short story that took as many of the meaningless, nonsensical books in the library and threw them into the void beneath it. Others, maybe, will be changed by my words, have their lives changed, seeing reality in a different and maybe brighter light. Hopefully, at least. Yet, still, there will be others who simply like the video, think it's something neat, leave a like and a nice comment before moving on. For each of those people, my video gains the meaning that they give it. For the critic, my video is indeed flawed and poorly written. For the adoring, my video is indeed one of the greatest things to ever be made. And for the simple fan, my video is worth a watch if you have some time to spare. I give my own videos meaning by how I work through these ideas on paper and understand them better in my mind. You give my videos meaning by interpreting and responding to what I say, and neither of the meanings given are any less than the other. All of my completed final videos are not unique. They have no innate purpose or meaning, since they were already written somewhere inside the library's archives. In terms of worth by simply existing, none of them are truly special, since everything that I spent days or weeks thinking over is already in that endless reality of bookshelves, a machine having thought up my ideas for me long before I ever did. Just like life, there is no innate meaning to anything that I had done. Yet, that doesn't prevent there from being meaning. No innate meaning only means exactly that. No innate meaning. Not no meaning at all. The meaning in this video, for me, is what I put into it. How I came to a realization about life, myself, and everything that I made or will ever make. And for you, the meaning is whatever meaning you get out of it. A self-entitled wannabe philosopher thinking he discovered some unknown truth of the world, or someone that came to a realization that changed their own, and maybe your, view on reality for the better, or whatever other meaning you take from this video. That meaning is entirely your own. When there is no purpose or meaning in something, nothing really stops you from giving it meaning yourself. Mankind has, since our earliest days, given meaning to anything and everything. That tree wasn't just a tree, but a guardian spirit. That hill, the gathering place of fairies, and those clouds atop a mountain, the home of the gods. Were any of them genuinely a guardian spirit, a meeting place of fairies, or the home of the gods? Not really. Yet, at the same time, for the people that believed in it, they genuinely were. The meaning given to something makes it what it is, not the other way around. My video script has already been written, countless times. A perfect copy, a copy with almost exact, but one tiny mistake, and a copy that has every third word removed from it. What I write now isn't original, unique, or innately special in any way. But if early people can see a rock, random and entirely identical to millions of other rocks, and find a god, a demon, or something hidden inside that specific hunk of dirt and earth, who's to say my video can't have meaning in a sea of millions and millions of clones? I decided to make this into a video, this whole experience that I had and the realization I got out of it, because, one, honestly, I came to this realization even though kind of, honestly, after the fact, I noticed that it was kind of like common sense, that you experience things differently from other people, and your experience can't really be like wrong compared to theirs, obviously within reason. Like in a story that has some kind of an evil empire regime, that is clearly meant to be inspired by, like, I don't know, the Nazis, but you can't really point to it and like say, oh, they're obviously inspired by like America or Britain or whatever, because those countries have made some pretty bad mistakes, but nothing was ever quite to the level of fascism. Where was I going with this? Right, it was pretty common sense, the realization that I came to, but, it's common sense, yet somehow I did not figure it out until a really, really long time. So surely there might be other people who have not figured it out as well, and maybe this video might be able to help them. If I were to post it on Twitter as a thread or whatever. I mean, not all of my fans on YouTube are also on Twitter, or following me on Twitter, not that I use it too much to update people about videos. And then also because, I mean, I was looking around on YouTube a little while ago, and there are a lot of channels out there that have they take certain aspects of games and dissect them in very unique ways, like Game Maker's Toolkit for the mechanics, Games as Lit for the story and how the narratives play out, Psych of Play for how the games use psychology to add or remove certain factors from different games, but there kind of wasn't really a channel, at least that I could find in name, that covers philosophy of video games. Like, there's no, like, philosophy of games, or gamer philosopher, or whatever. And I came to that realization after I looked it up when I was talking with a friend, where this friend of mine is a big advocate of the growth mindset, which is something he learned through sports psychology. And I frequently just kind of message him about video ideas that I have that he might find interesting due to them being somewhat related to the growth mindset, like maybe a video on Dark Souls, because that game is very much built around an idea very similar to the growth mindset. And one day he just kind of told me that I am the only person that he really knows that would be able to find this kind of stuff in a video game. Where, I mean, his friends might not be the type of people that look for philosophy in a game, but it is something that I notice I oftentimes focus on, and what has like the most enjoyable experience for me is games that have some kind of a philosophical message. So I figure I might as well try to start pushing my channel in that general direction. Like, I mean, of course I'm going to be having, normal videos, and not everything is going to be super, like, Socrates or Aristotle level or whatever. But, I mean, like my last video on Darksiders and Death, that video is the type of video that I am going to try to work towards making more of in the future, where I discuss a game and how it relates to a philosophical concept and whether it does a good or bad job in relating to that. Anyways, I also do think I'm going to be adding these from now on, like longer post-video rambles. Like, I know a lot of YouTubers have a, 40-second, minute-long post-video, like, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, whatever, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm doing these because one major issue I've always had whenever I've kind of read highbrow work, is that even the right term? Like intellectual works, a lot of philosophy, to be honest, is they tend to speak in such like ridiculous eloquence, and they talk so much around a subject rather than about the subject that it can be very hard to understand what they're trying to say. And so with these end of script rambling videos, or end of video rambling scripts, I might be able to, by just kind of brain dumping all over my microphone, I might be able to try and explain things in a slightly different way that people who have the same kind of problems that I do, they might be able to understand it a little bit easier. But, and then also to help everybody get a little bit more familiar with me as me, rather than me as PixelDemise the YouTuber. Because, I mean, to be honest, my method of writing, like my wording of writing scripts, is very different from the way that I actually talk in real life, and even this is a little bit out of the ordinary for how I talk, because I have tried re-recording this to get it slightly better, so I have a much more solid idea in my head. My first video was full of like and like stuttering and whatnot, and not really flowing from one point to another properly. But anyways, that's going to be it for the video. I do hope that you learned something from it. I mean, I feel a little bit embarrassed that, like, this all is really common sense. How did it take me 20 years to figure this out? But then at the same time, like, it was a huge revelation for me, and exactly as I said in the video, it is equally as important to see your meaning you get out of it and your own response to what I say, just as much as my actual making of the video and the meaning that I get out of it. So let me know whatever you think about it. I'm curious to hear what kind of ideas and hell, even what kind of lessons you've learned from video games. I might actually, if there are some good ones, hell, I might even get some ideas for future videos. I do have some planned, but they will take time to get done. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed.